Premier gets reduction in jail time and fine. And ownership of accounts by children among issues to be raised. Good evening, Assalamualaikum Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Brendan Lepol. Former Prime Minister Dr. Seri Najib Tun Razak, who is serving a 12-year prison sentence, will be released earlier. That's on 23rd August 2028 after the Prisons Board decided to reduce his sentence by half. The Pardons Board for the Federal Territories of Kuala Lumpur, Labuan and Putrajaya made the decision at its 61st meeting on 29th January. The meeting was chaired by then Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Rayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah. It said after weighing all opinions and advice, the Pardons Board has decided that the punishment and fine be reduced. According to the statement issued by the Pardons Board Secretariat, the fine to be paid by Datuk Seri Najib is also cut to only 50 million ringgit from the original 210 million ringgit. However, it said that if the fine isn't paid, his prison term will be extended by a year, which means that he would be released on 23rd August 2029. The former Pekan parliamentary member was sentenced to 12 years jail after he was found guilty of one count of abuse of power with regard to the retirement fund INC's KWAP 4 billion ringgit loan to SRC International Sendirian Berhad, as well as 3 counts each of criminal breach of trust and abuse of power involving 42 million ringgit of SRC funds. A meeting between the Communications Minister and the TikTok management team will be held to discuss on account ownership by children under the age of 13. Minister Fami Fadzil said there was some concern regarding the ownership of TikTok accounts by this age group, as a platform community guidelines explicitly stated that users must be 13 years and older to have an account.
Ini satu keadaan yang amat menggusarkan, merisaukan, dan kita mungkin perlu panggil pihak TikTok untuk dapat penjelasan dan ada penyelarasan dari segi penguatkuasaan di sekolah-sekolah, kerana pelanggaran ini kalau di negara lain syarikat TikTok dah kena saman. Jadi kita kena teliti. Saya akan cuba bincang dengan pihak TikTok dan juga dengan peguam negara sekiranya kita perlu ambil apa-apa tindakan perundangan.
He added there are some unhealthy trends spreading on social media, including TikTok, related to the culture of extremism and takfirism that could jeopardize national harmony. Fahmi also noted that government's efforts to provide better, faster, cheaper and stable internet services must be utilized by the people for beneficial purposes. He said this when paying a courtesy visit to Pahang Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail at Wisma Seri Pahang in Kuantan. On a separate matter, Fahmi said efforts to identify schools with internet accessibility problems will continue to be the priority for his ministry. He said towards this end, Communications Ministry will work together with state government to overcome this issue.
Terutama menjelang beberapa keputusan yang bakal dibuat oleh Kementerian Pendidikan tentang isu internet di sekolah. Jadi kita akan selaraskan di antara Kementerian Komunikasi, Kementerian Pendidikan dan juga Kerajaan Negeri. Jadi insya-Allah kita akan uruskan dengan baik dari segi keutamaan. Kemungkinan besar saya rasa sekolah-sekolah, saya nampak wajah sekolah-sekolah untuk anak-anak orang asli sebagai contoh.
Commenting further on the matter, Fahmi said the main focus is to ensure teachers will be able to have better internet access in their classrooms. The Malaysian Agricultural Research and Development Institute, MARDI, has been instructed to closely monitor the growth and production of the new shallot variety Bor 1, which is being cultivated in Perak, in a bid to reduce reliance on imports. Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Seri Mohammad Sabu said the data obtained later could assist the ministry in formulating a plan for large-scale cultivation of this local red onion. The Boar 1 variety, along with Boar 2 and Boar 3, are three new shallot varieties introduced by Mahdi last year. Commenting further on the matter, the Minister, through a Facebook posting, said, on 24th January this year, the Agriculture Development started cultivating the Boar 1 variety at a 1-hectare site in Kuala Bikam, Batang Padang, Perak. He said the onion supply crisis in 2020 caused a major flood in India, resulted in over 30% increase in onion prices in the market, rising from 6 ringgit to 8 ringgit per kilogram. When delivering his 2024 New Year's mandate, Mohammed said the ministry would focus on strengthening the onion industry this year. The government is calling electric vehicles charging stations companies to provide EV fire blankets certified by Seri Berhad. Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said the blanket will help to reduce toxic gas leakage and fire involving EV.
Ada insiden, we got to be prepared. Even if it's 1%, 2% pun kena ada preparation lah. Harganya lebih kurang 4,800, 5,000 lah.
President and Chief Executive Officer of Seri Group, Datuk Dr. Ahmad Sabirin Arshad, meanwhile said Seri QAS International will be responsible for testing and issuing certificate for the products so that it fulfill the required standard.
Produk dah ada di pasaran, tapi sekarang kita memerlukan dia disahkan oleh Seri. Dites dan diuji dan disahkan oleh Seri. Jadi kita akan secepat mungkin kita akan pastikan benda ini berjalan dengan lancar.
Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul was met at the demonstration of EV fire blanket at Seri headquarters in Shah Alam, Selangor. Business segment, Malaysia's exports set to rebound due to upbeat global outlook. Stay with us. Malaysia Tourism Promotion Board, Tourism Malaysia, is optimistic that they will achieve the target of over 7 million tourists from China within this year. According to its Director General, Dr. Amar Abdul Ghaffar, the optimism derives from visa liberalisation and more flight frequencies between China to Sabah, Sarawak and Johor. Towards this end, airline companies are encouraged to add more flight routes from China to Malaysia as part of promotional efforts to other tourist destinations in the country, in conjunction with Visit Malaysia Year 2026.
Jadi ini merupakan satu sasaran yang amat besar. It is a challenge to us, but definitely we are working very hard to get the numbers to make sure that bukan saja capai sasaran, sebolehnya kita melebihi sasaran yang ditetapkan. Kita definitely kita sedang berusaha juga di mana untuk pasaran-pasaran yang ada, terutamanya China, kita mensasarkan untuk satu penambahan dari segi frekuensi penerbangan. Jadi syarikat-syarikat penerbangan yang dah ada hari ini, kalau dulu dia 2 kali seminggu, mungkin kita sasarkan untuk jadi 4 kali seminggu ataupun setiap hari 7 kali seminggu.
He said this after welcoming arrival from Zhejianglong Airlines' first flight from Hangzhou to Kuala Lumpur. The airline is offering a direct flight between Kuala Lumpur and Hangzhou 3 times a week. The Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives Ministry, or KUSCOP, has appointed Datuk Muhammad Irwan Muhammad Mubara as the new chairman of Bank Kerjasama Rakyat Malaysia Berhad, or Bank Rakyat, effective today. Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives Minister Datuk Iwan Benedict said the appointment is based on his leadership qualities and extensive experience during his role as acting chairman since 1st November 2022. Elaborating further through a statement released today, Datuk Iwan said KUSCOP is confident in his qualifications, experience and credibility to carry out the responsibilities and support Bank Rakyat's mission and vision in continuing to aid the cooperative and entrepreneurial ecosystem in line with the aspirations of Malaysia Madani. Datuk Muhammad Irwan was appointed as a director of the board of Bank Rakyat on 24th July 2020 and has over 21 years of experience in litigation, corporate and company law and compliance management. Meanwhile, Bank Rakyat Chief Executive Officer Datuk Muhammad Hanis Osman spokesman said the management committee and all employees of Bank Rakyat welcomed the appointment of Muhammad Irwan as its new chairman. He said through his extensive experience, he can lead the implementation of the 2024 business plan and long-term strategic plan, which will place Bank Rakyat on the right path to achieve sustainable performance while delivering the best customer experience. TSA Group Berhad, or TSA, made its debut on Bursa Malaysia's ACE market at 58 cents today, notching a premium of 3 cents than its initial public offering of IPO price of 55 cents. At the opening bell, the counter saw 10.95 million shares changing hands. On 19 January, the industrial hardware, stainless steel pipes and metal products manufacturer reported that its shares were oversubscribed by 8.62 times. The group aims to raise 42.53 million ringgit through its IPO exercise. Of the total funds raised, 20 million ringgit will be used to settle borrowings within 5 months of the listing, with the primary objective of strengthening its financial base, reducing debt, lowering interest costs and fortifying financial resilience. Another 5.1 million ringgit will be allocated to defray listing expenses, 5.1 million ringgit for its Semasa manufacturing plant as part of its growth strategies, and 12.3 million ringgit for working capital. Group Managing Director Chu Kwan Fa said the plant in Semasa is expected to manufacture 48,000 tons of cold rolled stainless steel coils per year, mainly for Malaysian market. TSA currently serves over 3,600 active customers in 12 countries globally. On its outlook, Chu said the group anticipates a positive growth momentum driven by growing demand from the oil and gas, food and beverages and green energy industries. Malaysia's exports of goods are expected to rebound and grow at plus 5.2% this year from a contraction of negative 8.0% in 2023, benefiting from the recovery in global trade and production activities. MIDF research in a note today said that optimism among manufacturers improved slightly from December 2023 and local producers continue to expect demand to improve. S&P Global reported yesterday that Malaysian manufacturers picked up slightly in January 2024 from that seen last December amid signs of demand improvement. The seasonally adjusted S&P Global Malaysia Manufacturing Purchasing Managers' Index (PMI) posted 49 in January, up from 47.9 in December, and the highest since September 2022, recording a 16-month high. Accordingly, the latest reading suggests that last year's downturn is losing momentum and sets the Malaysian manufacturing sector on course for a gradual recovery. Commenting on this, MIDF research said factory activities in Malaysia declined last month, but at the slowest pace in 19 months. The higher PMI indicates the declines in output, new orders and exports were slower. On top of that, price pressures also ease as easing cost pressures led to a slower rise in selling prices. All this were in line with the recent trends in producer and consumer prices. The Rubber Production Incentive (IPG) for smallholders has been activated for Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak based on the January 2024 production. The Malaysian Rubber Board, or MRB, in a statement today said the IPG would be activated if the average monthly farm gate price for cup lump rubber is at 3 ringgit per kilogram or below. It said the average price at the farm level for cup lump or scrap rubber in January 2024 was 2 ringgit and 90 cents per kilogram for Peninsular Malaysia and 2 ringgit and 55 cents per kg for Sabah and Sarawak. As for IPG for latex, it will be activated where the IPG for cup lump is activated and the rate of IPG latex is fixed at 90 cents per kg for latex with 100% dry rubber content (DRC). It also said the rate of IPG for cup lump and latex activated in Peninsular Malaysia is 10 cents for 50% DRC and 20 cents per kg for 100% DRC. Meanwhile, the rate in Sabah is 45 cents per kg for 50% DRC and 90 cents per kg for 100% DRC. The rate in Sarawak is 45 cent per kg for 50% DRC and 90 cent per kg for 100% DRC. MRB said smallholders are eligible to receive IBG payments from 1st to 9th February 2024. The increase of the activation price level is one of the government's initiatives via the Budget 2024 announcement. On another note, the Malaysian rubber market closed mixed today, tracking weaker regional rubber futures market and a stronger ringgit against the US dollar. A dealer said market sentiment was also affected by escalating geopolitical tensions in West Asia and patchy global factory performance. Nevertheless, the trader said further losses were capped by gains in oil prices, coupled with encouraging China's manufacturing data and efforts to lift its economy. Regionally, Japanese rubber futures dropped today and were poised for a weekly decline as lackluster manufacturing and United States labor data weighed on sentiments, although higher crude prices limited losses. Oil prices rose during early trade today following a decision by OPEC Plus to keep its oil output policy unchanged, clawing back some losses from the previous trading session triggered by unsubstantiated ceasefire reports between Israel and Hamas. At home, the Malaysian Rubber Board's MRB price for standard Malaysian rubber 20 SMR20 declined by 7.5 cent per kg to 710 cent per kg. Meanwhile, latex in bulk increased by 3 cent per kg to 652 cent per kg. At 5 p.m., the MRB reference price for physical rubber SMR20 stood at 708.50 cent per kg, while latex in bulk was 654 cent per kg. Apple has reported sales and profit that beat Wall Street estimates, powered by growth in its iPhone business. The 2% rise in overall fiscal first quarter sales for the company ended 4 straight quarters of sales declines on the strength of its iPhone 15 lineup. For its fiscal first quarter ended 30th December, Apple reported sales of $119.58 billion and profit of $2.18 per share, both above analysts' expectations. According to LSEG data, sales of iPhones hit $69.70 billion, growing 6% to beat analysts' expectations of $67.82 billion. The biggest growth area for Apple during its fiscal first quarter was its services business, which includes the Apple TV Plus service as well as music, iCloud storage and the App Store, and which rose 11% to $23.12 billion in sales. Apple's first quarter Mac sales were up slightly to $7.78 billion, in line with analysts' expectations, while sales of iPads were down 25% to $7.02 billion, missing expectations of $7.33 billion. For Apple's wearable segment, which includes its AirPods and Apple Watch, sales fell to $11.95 billion after company executives had warned of weak demand. Oil prices rose in early trade today following a decision by OPEC Plus to keep its oil output policy unchanged, clawing back some losses from the previous trading session triggered by unsubstantiated ceasefire reports between Israel and Hamas Group. Brent crude futures rose 50 cents or 0.6% to $79.20 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 40 cents or 0.5% to $74.22 a barrel. On Thursday, two OPEC Plus sources said the group has kept its oil output policy unchanged and will decide in March whether or not to extend the voluntary oil production cuts in place for the first quarter. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allies, led by Russia, known as OPEC Plus, has outputs cuts of 2.2 million barrels per day (BPD) in place for the first quarter, as announced in November. ANZ's research analyst meanwhile said in a note that those production cuts should keep supply tight in the first quarter, with non-OPEC production increases set to normalize and U.S. output growth slowing 2024 to 300,000 barrels per day (BPD) from 800,000 BPD last year. Also supporting oil prices were the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to keep the benchmark overnight interest rate in the 5.25 to 5.50% range, and comments by Chair Jerome Powell, who said that interest rates had peaked and would move lower in coming months. And now we move on to the next segment of our bulletin, On the Table. Over to you, Otto.
Good evening and welcome back to On the Table, where we discuss current issues making the news. Now, the Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Ibni Almarhum Sultan Iskandar, was recently installed as the 17th Yang di-Pertuan Agong in a ceremony filled with tradition, occurring only once every 5 years. Known as the constitutional monarchy, Malaysia's elected king is unique, as this rotation among the state rulers is only practiced in this country. So joining us tonight via video call, we welcome Dr. Azmi Hassan, Senior Fellow at Nusantara Academy for Strategic Research. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Otto.
Now, first and foremost, could you briefly explain to the viewers why we practice such a system?
As you mentioned before, this Otto is a constitutional monarch and very unique because it's a rotational basis. Because in Malaysia, we have 9 kings in 9 states. So in order to be the Yang di-Pertuan Agong or the supreme leader of Malaysia, it is based on rotational basis. As you mentioned, it is very unique, and only us is conducting this kind of selecting the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. But more importantly, even though it's a rotational basis, but there is election, or I would say an internal election among the 9 kings of the 9 states. So it is a double unique when you mentioned that the rotation is very unique, Otto.
Now, since the independence, we've seen the constitutional monarchy play a role as a head of state, but do not interfere in the day-to-day affairs of the government. However, this was not the case when the 16th Yang di-Pertuan Agong had to step in during a political turmoil in the country. Now, your thoughts on the role of Malaysia's king during those turmoil times?
Yes, Otto, it is true that Sultan Abdullah did step in after the GE15 November 2022, but the king never interfered in the political scenario at that particular time. The king only said that he wished, Baginda wished, the Majesty wished that all political parties form together, group together, and form the unity government. And this unity government include the Borneo sides. So it was never interference, Otto. It's just the opinion from the king. And at that particular time, Pakatan Harapan, Barisan Nasional, and GRS from Sabah, and also GPS from Sarawak, heed to the wishes of the king. So I don't see that this is kind of interference, but a suggestion, an opinion. And we know that this particular opinion really saved us from further political turmoil, Otto.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Now, during the reign of the previous Yang di-Pertuan Agong, he was more hands-on when it came to the matter of the people. And likewise, we are anticipating a similar approach with the new King of Malaysia, Sultan Ibrahim. Now, moving forward, this hands-on approach, meeting with the people on the ground, can be very well boost the image of the monarchy. Your thoughts on that, Dr. Azmi?
Yes, very true. Hands-on. Sultan Abdullah is very hands-on, very close to his subjects. The people can communicate not only with the king, but also the Permaisuri Agong very easily. And also Sultan Ibrahim is also very hands-on, I would say very hands-on king during his reign. In Johor, the Sultan has a Kembara Mahkota Johor, for example. So I guess, but the approach is very, very different. Sultan Abdullah is more hands-on. The Baginda more interested in the environment, but Sultan Ibrahim is more interested in the rule of law. So different approach, but true, Otto. It is a very hands-on approach where the people, the subject, can communicate, can talk to the king, both Sultan Abdullah and also Sultan Ibrahim freely in this case, Otto.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Azmi. Now, the role of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong certainly has grown within just a short span of time. Now, what do you think is the people's perception of this institution, or perhaps their hopes and aspirations when it comes to uniting the country in troubling times?
As we discussed just now during GE15 or after GE15, I think the suggestion from Sultan Abdullah really saved us from another political turmoil. So I think the people of Malaysia really appreciate it. But again, I think Sultan Ibrahim, he's a hands-on approach, but different kind of approach. And he's very close to the rule of law. So I think the people of Malaysia is really expecting that. For example, Sultan Abdullah said that the government should give more opportunity for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to participate in the international conference or meeting. And for the Sultan Ibrahim, I presume he's very close to the rule of law to minimize corruption. So these are what are the people expecting Sultan Ibrahim in the next 5 years, very close to our konom duga of rule of law, Otto.
Now, Dr. Sultan Abdullah, in an interview shortly before stepping down, suggested that the Yang di-Pertuan Agong should have a more in-depth role, such as leading the country's delegation on international conferences or conventions. Now, to do this, would we need to amend the constitution or in diversifying the role of the constitutional monarchy as to just being an ambassador to the world? Your thoughts on this?
No, I don't think so. There is some need to amend the constitution. Yes, it is true that the monarchy, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, is bound by the constitution. But by representing Malaysia in the international arena, for example, Sultan Abdullah a few months ago was in Dubai, COP28. Because Sultan Abdullah was very close to the environment, to the climate change. So I don't see any reason why the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, the government should not give more prominent role. Because the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, as a monarchy, as a Yang di-Pertuan Agong, I think the Baginda Majesty has more clout to it. So yes, I think I concur with Sultan Abdullah when Majesty said that the government should give more prominent role to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, especially on international meetings. No amendments are needed in this case for our constitution, Otto.
Now, Doctor, it seems that we don't have much time anymore. I would just like to ask you briefly, Dr. Azmi, your hopes and aspirations for the new King of Malaysia.
One thing for sure is don't misunderstood Sultan Ibrahim. Yes, he looks very, very mean at at particular time, but I guess I've been in Johor for 15 years or so. So we misunderstood Sultan Ibrahim. He's very close to his subject and can easily communicate with us. So that's my hope for the next 5 years or so.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Azmi, for that and also for your time. It seems that we've almost run out of time, but anyway, thank you once again. It seems that our time is limited, so thank you very much for your insights and discussion, and we hope to have you back soon. So for now, it's back to you.
And thank you, Otto. And that wraps up Malaysia Tonight. I'm Brenda Lepal with Otto Othman. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for your company. Take care and good night.